Hey there, I'm Ian Douglas. I'm the author of the website techinterview.guide, and I'm here to help people with career advancement and interview preparation. My live stream on Twitch covers topics such as company research, how to build resumes and cover letters, applying for the job, getting through interviews, and what to do during negotiations. I've coached thousands and thousands of people over the years to get jobs at the biggest tech companies in the industry, and I'm here to help you too. The following episode is taken from a longer live stream event and may contain interactions with other people in chat. Check out the end of the episode for more information. Let's get to it. More in a horizontal format as opposed to these like really wide vertical columns. I think that you could do a bit better job making them horizontal instead. Because like React kind of belongs over here with like Angular and Node. Even if you don't know it as well, like you kind of bury it down here in the bottom, I would probably put it up here. So I think you could do something a little different on that, and I'll show you an example of how I might group those up in a little bit. Because one of the things that I want to start doing on the stream is like show you a little bit more of like here's how I might reformat your resume, and so I think I'll do that with your skills block just to show you. From a career history point of view, you've been at this job for a number of years now, which is great. This job was relatively short. You weren't there quite a full year. Which is fine. If you got a story to tell about it, then that's fine. This one, you were here for a couple of years. Freelance self-employed, that's totally okay to put on a resume. You may want to explain a little bit about like what kind of work you did as a freelancer. Otherwise, I'm like, were you really self-employed, or were you just like kicking back watching Netflix and playing video games, for that period of time? Because it wasn't a huge amount of time. It's only like 7 or 8 months. So if you could list out like what were some of the projects or some of the key technologies that you used while you were freelancing, I think that would be more beneficial to the resume. Full stack as well. This one was also almost 2 years. So yeah, so you've got a good history of like showing me that you're going to stick around at a job for several years. A couple of short little jobs. No major gaps really stand out for me. You're currently working here. You went right from that job to that job. You went right from this job to this job. You went right from your sort of freelance work to this job, right from here into your freelance work. So again, from an outsider's perspective, looking at this, I would say, okay, well, this was either like an 8-month gap, or you really did freelance work. But I would want to know what you did with that freelance time. Like what sort of things did you work on? So from that point of view, I think you present that well. I like that you're also saying that you work remote on all those jobs, so it's really showing like a strong ability to work remotely as part of a team, and the fact that you've been at these jobs a really long time. Build and lead talented team to deliver projects. So building a team is kind of a management role. Here you're a lead engineer doing back-end and DevOps. So you're overlapping a lot of things. But if you're building a team, then that's more on the management side of it. Like if you're helping with interviewing, I might call that out as a separate bullet point as far as like building and leading. Create robust, detailed project plans and strategies, develop a highly scalable microservice framework and microservices. I mean, this is a little bit redundant here. I would say developed highly scalable microservices and custom framework or something like that. But to put microservice in here twice is a bit redundant. Developed and maintained CI/CD pipelines for integration testing and deployment using Jenkins, GitHub Actions. I would probably just say developed and maintained Jenkins, GitHub Actions, CI/CD pipelines for integration testing. I think you could reword it to where it's not quite so long. I usually tell people a bullet point shouldn't go farther than where these dates are. So like this line is probably as long as I would make any bullet point on the page, because you want those dates to be kind of isolated down the side if you can. That would be really preferable. Just from a reader point of view and sort of visual design point of view, it kind of isolates those dates into a sort of a column of its own, even though it's not actually a column. So as much as possible, try not to let a bullet point wrap on the page, and try to shorten them. If you do have a bullet point that is that long, it probably needs to be split into multiple things. Developed and maintained monitoring infrastructure using Prometheus, Alert Manager, distributed tracing to identify, visualize, improve the stability and functioning of microservice infrastructures. I mean, this is what monitoring is. So I don't know that you need to really explain that. You can just say developed and maintained, because when you think about it, like, you developed this stuff, but then you didn't go on to explain like how and why is it scalable and whatever. But here you're kind of explaining like what these things do that you just called out. So I think that all of this could get removed. This whole second line could get removed. Golang, Node, gRPC. I would probably also just write Go as a language. Not everybody's going to search in a database for the word Golang. I think you could just do a Go on here as well, or do both. Do Go/Golang. That way you're hitting on both of those keywords. gRPC, Google Cloud. Yep, all this stuff looks good. Node.js, just check your spelling on that. So Node.js is actually node.js. So make sure that you get that dot in there on the resume. That's just one of those like attention to detail thing that some people are going to sort of notice. So just make sure you get the little dot in here. MongoDB is going to be capital DB, things like that. Interesting that you used both AWS and Heroku, considering Heroku's built on AWS. Developed innovative iOS, Android, and web apps. Applied a data-driven approach to project tracking and reporting to ensure cohesive, consistent operation. This is very buzzwordy, but that's fine. Advise senior leadership regarding cutting-edge technologies and change management to align solutions with best-in-class standards. Trying to think of a way that you could like shorten that to be like to not wrap around, because again, you like as much as possible you don't want these bullet points to wrap if you can help it. Started as a sole member of the development team, grew to 5 people strong. Led a team to develop a highly scalable video on demand platform from scratch. I would say like to create and develop, and then you can get rid of the words from scratch because you've created it. Incorporated features including digital rights management, video encryption, playback everywhere, multi-bit rate streaming, user group management, heat map, analytics, custom branding. This is a lot of stuff that you did at this job. And I would probably group these a little bit different. So things like DRM, video encryption, those are kind of related. Playback everywhere, multi-bit rate streaming, those are related. User group management, okay. Heat map analytics, pre-roll advertising, like these are kind of related. I might put these out actually as separate bullet points. Just that way they're kind of seeing like these are kind of the key areas instead of just blending it all together into a single thing that's like sort of wrapping on multiple lines. So yeah, like you're doing a really good job explaining all of these roles except for your freelance work. So to me, it just looks not suspicious, but I would like to see more detail about that freelance job. So you've got a really cool background. You've got some really neat stuff on your resume. This one is a lot more sentence than how you've written your other bullet points. Your other bullet points are not fully grammatically correct, which is the right way to write a bullet point, but this one feels more like an actual written sentence. So again, I would probably like trim out some of the filler words and make it not grammatically correct just to shorten it up a little bit. And then spoken communication for that. Cool. Let's grab this. Let me show you what I might do. In here, let me pull up a Google Doc. So here's what I might do for that skills block. So when I paste it in, it does this, by the way. And so this is how every other applicant tracking system is going to see this. What I might do is I might group up like languages, and then I might do like frameworks, and then we'll do like databases and tools. Oops. And then we might do like systems, and then, practices or something like that. So languages, we have Go, Golang, PHP. You're probably going to know some SQL because you work in actual SQL databases. Frameworks, we've got Node.js. So you've got TypeScript and JavaScript. So we'll do TypeScript and JavaScript. So we got Node.js, we got Angular 2+, we got React.js. Hey, Midnight Smith, thanks for the cheer bits. Let's see what else we got in here. Databases, we got MySQL, Postgres, MongoDB, we got Redis on here. Practices, we have API development in REST, gRPC, WebSockets. Hey, ThetaSec, thanks for the follow. We're just doing a resume review for someone, and I'm showing them how I might reformat their skills block here. And then for systems, you got Google Cloud, AWS. We could also put your monitoring tools like Prometheus on here as well. Prometheus and Grafana. Let's see what else are we missing. Linux server administration. I mean, you could put that in here as well. So Linux DevOps. And then you also had Docker and Kubernetes. And then let's see, where would we put serverless on here? That's kind of development stuff. So I might actually put it here with practices. So we'll do like serverless, doing GCP Cloud Run and AWS Lambda. So that's how I would kind of break that out as a skills block. So I do like a skills header, and then for these things, I might like throw a bold or something on these. Now, if you find that these lists are too short, what you could do then is actually just group these up together and do like languages and frameworks. And then you're down to fewer lines. But I'd probably do something like that as far as laying that out. This is much more compact and gets the point across a little bit better than the vertical stack that you're doing here. Also, you've got this separator line here where you don't on the others. And this is, you've got these bars under career profile and career history. Oh, and then under skills. Okay, so you do that for each of your headings, but these headings are also in caps, where your skills block is not in caps. So again, you want to be consistent about those sorts of things. But what I wrote out takes up a lot less space than what you've written out here, and it also you can also then reorder these a little bit more as far as like which ones you're stronger in and which ones you understand a little bit better. And so what I might do there is like if you're applying for a particular company and they do more PHP than Go, then you would switch that up and you'd say, okay, well, I've done PHP, and then I also happen to know Go. Because you want to look like a PHP developer who knows Go, as opposed to a Go developer that knows PHP. And so you'll reorder these skills based on the job post. So if the job post is looking for MongoDB with PHP, you're going to move MongoDB to the front of the list. Because as humans, when we read these lists, we're kind of sort of trained when we read lists that whatever we read first, you know best, and whatever you read last, you know not as well. And so if they're looking for a PHP developer who knows Mongo, I would just reverse the order, or just change up the order to be in sort of the order that you want to present yourself for that particular job. But that would be how I would actually sort of reimagine that skills block. Cool. Other than that, and then so the other advice that I give people when it comes to resumes. So again, we're still kind of looking at that whole, like, now we're onto this whole second page. I think if you got rid of this career profile and put your skills block in there instead, it's going to take up less space than the career profile. If you can take out this sort of outline around your name, that's also going to shrink up the top here a little bit. I think you could probably put your LinkedIn and your GitHub sort of side by side in here if you have GitHub. If not, it's fine. But I think you could also reduce the font size here. I usually tell people you get 3 font sizes for the whole page. One for your name, one for your headers, and one for everything else on the page. So what I would start by doing is make all of the text 10-point font. I would make the headers like 12-point font and make your name like 18 or 20-point font. That'll also bring this down to one page a little bit. But what I tell people, when you build a resume, put lots of information on here. Make a multi-page resume. Like my resume is like 3 or 4 pages long, and I store that as kind of a really long copy. And then when I'm ready to go apply for a job, I trim out everything that's not going to be important to that company, because it's a lot easier to delete stuff off a resume than to go rebuild a whole new resume from scratch and copy and paste a bunch of stuff around. And so what I tell people is, like, build one resume, format it the way that you want it, but add lots of bullet points for every job, lots of skills, lots of project work, that sort of thing. And then when you're ready to apply for a job, trim out everything that company isn't going to care about. So just zooming in on this a little bit, if this particular company doesn't care about hiring, like you're not going to be going for a hiring role, then you could probably take this first bullet point off. It's good to know you've been in a leadership position that you can do that kind of thing, but if it's not going to be part of your responsibility, you could take it off the resume. And it'll free up a little bit of space. And so as you're researching the company and as you're looking at the job post, you'll start to be able to figure out, okay, well, what is it on my resume that I can actually take off the resume to get it back down to one page? Now, you've been in the industry for a little while. You've been doing this for over a decade. I think it would be fine for you to have a 2-page resume. I think you could go in and explain these things a little bit more, maybe break them out into more bullet points where you're explaining a little bit more about what you do. And so I think in your case, having a 2-page resume is very applicable. But you just want to make sure that your second page isn't mostly empty space. The other thing that I would always do on a second page of a resume is put your contact information at the top again. It doesn't have to be this whole big, dark blue block with white font, but at least put your name and your contact information at the top of the second page again. So if those pages ever get separated, they know who it belongs to. But yeah, I would say as soon as you start using like a second page, you want to fill it up to about 2/3 of the page at a minimum. You don't have to go like top to bottom, edge to edge on that second page, but you want more than half of the page. I would say try to aim for like 2/3 of the page, if you can. So it'll give you opportunity to like explain a little bit more if you've got other like side projects that might be of interest to a particular company where you want to apply. Otherwise, I would try to bring it down to one page. If you can't, if that second page, if you really can't get it more than like a page and a half, then get it down to one page instead. And this also kind of applies to people that come from backgrounds that are not from tech. You also bring valuable skill and background from your other sort of work history and other life experiences that you're bringing to that job. And so I think that you could, totally, have like a 2-page resume where you're explaining more about your background, but then also explaining more of your technical skill and so on. Thanks for checking that out. I hope that you found it helpful. I always appreciate feedback, so please let me know what you think. I appreciate any subscriptions, so please tell your friends and colleagues about it as well. Check out the website techinterview.guide for more information about when I'm live streaming and all of my free content. Drop by a live stream anytime to ask questions or message me privately, whatever makes you most comfortable. See you next time.